I would say that's an interesting but not necessarily a surprising observation. In other words, let's say that the caretaker of a white child is black, otherwise non-white, taking care of the white child. Then if you see that kind of behavior, just know that the employers of the black person who's taking care of the white child has been given instruction. I don't want my child playing with black children. And this is why instead of black people engaging, I would say 95% of black people deny racism. And they pretend it doesn't exist. Or why does Dr. Welsing always have to talk about racism? It's in her mind. You see, instead of black people denying racism, you don't teach your child to hate white children, but you say if the children are not behaving in a positive way in relationship to you, it's because they are sick. And so we're not going to worry about those children. You see, you are a value second to none. You're beautiful, you're intelligent, and you know, if parents can avoid putting children in situations where that takes place, like I was talking to a patient in my office, and she was talking about the school that her daughter attends. It's a church school that has a good academic environment, but this parent, black parent, was saying that, you know, of the few black children who are in the school, that she's the only black parent who is there in the school monitoring what happens. She's monitoring to what happens to her child, but many of the other black parents are not monitoring what's happening to their children. You see, they're taking for granted that their child is going to be treated with equality. And that's not what happens on a daily basis. But it's just like the case of Elliot Rodgers, where his parents did not deal with or inform him or help him understand system of racism and white supremacy. See, we have a lot of young black people now since, you know, integration of the schools took place, 50 years ago, so you've got almost 2 generations of black children who have been in school with white children. And I'm seeing patients who have been in white school settings since the age of 2 and having mental breakdowns as young adult people. And when you talk to them and you know, try to get a history in terms of where did mistreatment start, what were they experienced when they were very young children and being mistreated in the classroom. No, they weren't being hit with blocks, but just like you say, on the playground, just ignoring you. Do you see? Or, you know, a white teacher and a black child has his or her hand up, and the teacher refuses to call on the child. Well, the child is not stupid. The child picks up on that. And so many black children, a number of black children, do you see? And not only that, we have all this data about black male children being punished in extreme fashion compared to the treatment of white male children across the board. You see the discipline disparity, which is the same as the, you know, the kind of sentences that black adult males are given compared to white adult males. So this is the importance of understanding system of racism. Instead of the parents being in denial, and I don't want to think about race, and why do I have to think about race? See, if a person turns on the television, they are getting indoctrinated. The television is the major instructor 24/7 of racism, white supremacy. Because you see white image, then a black image, and you'd be lucky if that black image is a man who's a black man bucking his eyes and looking silly. Or a black female talking like she's Aunt Jemima. You see, or even just looking at the color shades of the people on television. You see where it starts on the scale, if it's non-white, almost white. Well, all of this is coming across to black children. Now, they had parents who were comfortable in talking about racism. The parents would point that out to the child, that this is why you see this. If you're looking at television and you don't see positive and constructive black images, it's because this is the way that racism, white supremacy is taught. But by parents relating in a positive and a constructive way to their children, like I encourage everybody to go out and get Richard Williams, the father of Venus and Serena Williams, his book, Black and White as I See It, because he talks about how he brought his children in the world and how he was determined he was going to teach them and train them to be top-notch tennis players. No father in the history of the game of tennis has done that. And this man did it with outstanding results that he planned to do before they were conceived. So I encourage everybody, go out and buy Richard Williams' book, Black and White as I See It, and say, wow, look at what this black man did. And he was determined to protect his children from being discouraged at an early age by racism, white supremacy, by what he exposed them to. He went out and learned tennis himself so that he could teach his children. And, Serena Williams, they say, is one of the most outstanding tennis players that's ever been in the game. But the father had to be aware of racism to do that. So he had that in his awareness as he was involved in the education of his children, he and the mother. You see, but ignoring it is going to produce a child who self-image and self-concept is crushed. So parents have to be aware. You're not first of all, black people have to get it in their head they're not racist. If a black person talks about how black people have been mistreated in a system, historic up to the present system of racism and white supremacy, that doesn't make them a racist, that makes them an aware victim.